known as Endeavour, was docked just a few weeks ago. However, it was moved from one hatch to the next. So we have two Dragons, both docked to Node 2.
is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Houston copies on the big loop. Stand by for equalization. Expect to take 3 minutes. Additionally, ground is a little bit behind on configurations, so expect a slight delay for hatch opening.
Station copies.
Dragon copies.
As NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg gets things ready on the station side, the AX2 crew is still aboard Dragon, and they continue to have some steps that they're working through as well. We heard Peggy Whitson discuss the suit drying that's going on, as well as Rayyanah Barnawi reported down some of the consumables that had been used during the flight, including meals that were eaten. Everything is meticulously tracked aboard Dragon as well as aboard the International Space Station to make sure that it can be accessed when needed. But we are moving along pretty smoothly this morning toward hatch opening. The International Space Station uses GMT as their time zone, so it's about 2:30, 2:28 p.m. Pacific, or sorry, 2B Pacific aboard the International Space Station right now. So crew members are in the middle of their workday, most of them taking...
Section 5 is complete for the waste configuration.
And copy that, Peggy. Section 5 complete. Any deltas to inventory?
Looking at our timeline, some of the crew members on the space station side are enjoying their midday meal. Of course, after floating aboard, we'll see the AX2 crew move into their welcome ceremony, where they get to spend a little time with the other 7 crew members on the International Space Station and discuss their initial reactions to being on orbit and visiting the orbiting laboratory. Afterward, they'll step into their safety briefing and make sure that everyone is aware of the location of any certain safety items aboard the International Space Station, as well as what to do in any event of a contingency. After the safety briefing, the the Dragon Freedom astronauts, the AX2 crew, will begin moving some of the cargo from Dragon into the International Space Station side.
Station Dragon Houston on the Big Loop. Big picture update based on what we see for open ground and crew actions. We see that we're about 15 minutes out from hatch opening.
Dragon copies 15 minutes out.
And station copies 15 minutes.
Teams on the ground and teams on the space station continuing to step through their procedures, working toward hatch opening in approximately 15 minutes.
And Dragon
We
SpaceX
are in
on
it,
2 for
Teachers.
status.
Go ahead, SpaceX on 2.
Hey, was just wondering, do we have a change to inventory due to the waste system flush?
And you have a change to what?
Yeah, to our inventory for water bottles consumed.
No, we actually planned for the change in inventory, but since then, I pulled out one more bottle out of the same bag and 9 that still had bottles left. Actually, make it 2 more. John wants to grab one too.
And copy that. That's 2 bottles from which location?
Section 9, bag 204.
Copy that. 2 bottles from 204. And just checking in, are we able to come back on board with cameras?
Just another minute, please.
Copy that.
We're about 10 minutes away from Dragon hatch opening. International Space Station and Dragon are 261 statute miles over Kazakhstan, about to enter into an orbital nighttime. Again, we see 16 sunrises and sunsets a day, so I'm anticipating another one of those in just a few minutes. You'll see some of the lighting change if we have views outside of the spacecraft. But again, we are tracking about 9:45 a.m. Central Time for Dragon hatch opening. We'll see the AX2 crew members float into the capsule and then begin the welcome ceremony. Again, we are in a TDRS handover, meaning we do not have KU band. That is the antenna we use to bring down our video from the International Space Station. So we are anticipating the crew to float through the Dragon hatch at about 9:45 a.m. Central Time. We anticipate having good video at that time, so we'll get to welcome those 4 crew members aboard and see their smiling faces now that they've arrived at the space station.
Dragon on 2, you can come on board.
Copy that, Peggy. Bringing cameras back on board.
And SpaceX Dragon, the first 2 suits are dry, but we're just going to hold on packing them until after the event, if that sounds right to you.
Yeah, copy that, Peggy. We'd recommend opening the hatch first and then possibly completing the task for stowing the suits before ingressing into ISS.
Okay, copy, will do.
This is a view of Mission Control Space at SpaceX in Hawthorne, California. These teams have been monitoring the flight of Dragon Freedom since launch yesterday afternoon, actually before launch yesterday afternoon. That launch coming at 5:37 p.m. Eastern Time from Florida. A flawless launch, and then about a 16-hour rendezvous to the International Space Station. We got into integrated operations earlier this morning once we crossed through the approach ellipsoid, a 4 by 2 by 2 kilometer invisible boundary around the space station that helps us govern visiting spacecraft and their arrival and departure. Teams here in Mission Control Houston, now on your screen, are being led by Vincent LaCourte, Flight Director. They're working with astronauts aboard the International Space Station and staff this room 24/7, 365 to ensure that those astronauts and the space station systems remain supported. We've had continuous presence aboard the International Space Station for over 23 years now. And we'll be welcoming 4 crew members shortly as part of the AX2 mission, the second private astronaut mission to the International Space Station. This view coming from their mission control, also here in Houston, Texas. They'll remain on console all week to monitor the status of the astronauts, as well as help them step through their research, payloads, and any downlink opportunities that they have. And we're expecting to regain video communications with the space station and Dragon shortly. Just a few moments from now, we'll see the AX2 crew float through the hatch and bring our total of crew members living on the space station to 11. Everything looking good ahead of hatch opening on both sides, the station and Dragon. We're just standing by to regain video communications before we go for that hatch open so we can ensure we'll see the smiling faces of our 4 new crew members joining the Expedition 69 crew on the International Space Station. Again, we expect them to stay for about a week before returning on Dragon Freedom back to Earth.
In Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop, S-band will be deactivated shortly. Dragon to ground will no longer be available for comms. Please verify PTT destinations are set to ISS.
Wilco.
Teams in Hawthorne speaking with the crew still aboard Dragon Freedom, letting them know that shortly they will not have the ability to communicate from or through the Dragon to ground loop itself. However, they will start using the loops aboard the International Space Station to talk with teams here in Mission Control Houston as well as in Hawthorne. Again, we are getting close to hatch opening. Docking this morning occurring at 8:12 a.m. Central Time, so about an hour and a half ago. It was a very smooth ride to orbit yesterday, launching at 5:37 p.m. Eastern Time, and then again about a 16-hour transit, the fastest on record for a Dragon crew to the International Space Station. Take a look inside Dragon Freedom as the crew members of Axiom 2.
We have all the suits stowed and feed procedure 40.012 complete.
Copy all, Peggy. 4.012 complete.
Again, this view of the crew inside Dragon Freedom, our 4 astronauts who have arrived as part of Axiom Mission-2, the second private mission to the International Space Station. Up in the center of the screen, still sort of in her seat, that's former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson, the commander of this crew. Over near the window, you can see AlQarni, representing the Saudi Space Commission. Down below him, holding onto one of the footrests, is John Shoffner, the pilot. And just off camera, you can see her hand right now. That's Rayyanah Barnawi, also representing the Saudi Space Commission. We are standing by for hatch opening of Dragon Freedom. Again, you're looking live inside Dragon Freedom as we prepare for the hatch to be opened and these 4 crew members to float into the International Space Station on what is the second private astronaut mission to the orbiting laboratory. They will remain at the space station for about 8 days before undocking and returning to Earth. While they're on board, we will have a total of 11 people living and working aboard the space station. Again, this crew launched at 5:37 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday, docking this morning at 9:12 a.m. Eastern Time. The hatches are configured to be opened, so we are just standing by for that final go call to the crew. We'll remain on air through their welcome ceremony, where you get to hear some words from the crew themselves on their flight, as well as what they plan for this time on board. Afterwards, we will wrap our show as the crew steps into their safety briefings and eventually gets to work aboard the space station.
Dragon SpaceX on 2 for hatch open.
Go for Dragon.
Hey Peggy, so just big picture. Following hatch open, we'd like you to complete Part C of 2.102 prior to station ingress. We're still ahead of the timeline, so we've got some time to complete these tasks in the nominal sequence. With that, you are go for hatch opening per decal, followed by the remaining actions in procedure 4.400, section 6.
Copy. Hatch open per decal and section C.
That's affirmative, Peggy, and section 6 of 4.400 as well.
Yes, copy. Section 6 of 4.400 as well. Thank you.
And we've got a view here in Dragon Freedom as AlQarni works to open the Dragon side of the hatch. On the other side of the Dragon hatch is NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg waiting to welcome the crew on board after having completed all of the preparations this morning.
Houston and SpaceX, Dragon hatch is open.
Houston copies.
SpaceX copies.
At 10 a.m. Central Time, the Dragon hatch is open, preparing to see our crew members float through and join the International Space Station.
Houston, the IMV duct is installed and we are ready for IMV activation.
Houston copies.
Again, Dragon hatch open at 10 a.m. Central Time after docking at 8:12 a.m. Central Time, following their approximately 16-hour journey from the space coast of Florida to the International Space Station.
And Houston Station in the Dragon, we're at step 6.3, ready for the procedures for the LIO.
Copy that, Peggy. Houston is checking. Dragon Houston, on the big loop, you have a go for step 6.3 and procedure 2.102.
Go for 6.3, 2.102. Thanks.
Again, we are preparing for the AX2 crew to float through the Dragon hatch and join the space station crew. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg, who has monitored their arrival this morning, first in the cupola, and then worked to prepare these hatches, pressurizing the vestibule, that space between both hatches, and eventually assisting in opening the APAS hatch, as well as then AlQarni just at 10 a.m. Central Time, 5 minutes ago, opening the Dragon hatch. Again, this is live coverage of the arrival of the AX2 crew to the International Space Station. We are just standing by for those crew members to make their way out of Dragon and into the space station moments from now. UAE astronaut Sultan Al-Nayati just floating out of screen on the right-hand side there. He has been working alongside Woody Hoberg this morning to prepare the hatches for the crew to float through, as well as monitoring their arrival. Both Hoberg and Al-Nayati arrived as part of the Crew 6 crew and are now both members of Expedition 69, living and working aboard the International Space Station. Teams are also preparing the intermodule ventilation. That was the tube that we saw earlier that Woody Hoberg was working with. They will route that from the station side into the Dragon side to help equalize the atmospheres between both Dragon and station. Currently, the International Space Station is flying 264 statute miles southwest of Fiji. They are in an orbital nighttime, and here we have a great view of 4 of our crew members on the International Space Station. On the far left, that's NASA astronaut Steve Bowen. Down in the bottom left, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio.
Houston on 2, LIO cartridge is sealed per the decal at 15:08.
Space copies.
NASA's Woody Hoberg was on the right of your screen, and in the center, Sultan Al-Nayati. Again, preparations to egress Dragon continue. You can hear Commander Peggy Whitson discussing with teams on the ground that they are still stepping through those final checks.
SpaceX Dragon for procedure. Do you want us to continue on step 7?
Yeah, it's affirmative on section step 7.
Again, hatches between both Dragon and the International Space Station are open. Teams in Dragon, or the astronauts in Dragon, just continuing their final checkouts before moving into the space station side, where they will conduct their welcome ceremony.
Dragon on 2, all the valves are closed, including the PPRV ISO.
SpaceX copies. Thanks.
Again, this is a view from inside Node 2, also known as Harmony. The AX2 crew today docked to the Zenith, or space-facing port. There is another Dragon spacecraft docked to the forward-facing port.
Houston and SpaceX Dragon configuration is complete at step 8.9 of 2102.
Houston copies.
And SpaceX copies.
This crew, part of the 7 that are on the International Space Station, patiently waiting. There are 4 new crew members to arrive for the next 8 days. Not pictured in this frame, there are also 3 Roscosmos cosmonauts on board, including Sergei Prokopyev, Dmitry Petelin, and Andrei Fedyaev. So with the addition of these 4 crew members about to float on the space station, we will have an 11 total astronauts on station. And we have our first views of the Axiom crew members floating aboard. First is Commander Peggy Whitson rejoining the International Space Station. Next up is pilot John Shoffner making his first visit. Also on his first trip to space, you can see Ali AlQarni representing the Saudi Space Commission, all smiles as he floats through the Dragon hatch. And rounding out the Axiom 2 crew, that's Rayyanah Barnawi, also of the Saudi Space Commission. The crew of the space station is now 11 crew members. Big smiles from Rayyanah Barnawi. She is now the first female Saudi to go to space. With Commander Peggy Whitson at the helm, these astronauts are in good hands. Peggy has 665 days already lived in space. She's just adding to that total on this mission. John Shoffner, his first trip to space. Getting some help out from Woody Hoberg, NASA astronaut, who is also on his first trip to space. He's been on the space station now for 81 days. Again, the total number of astronauts and cosmonauts on board the International Space Station now at 11. Three of the astronauts on the space station represent NASA, 3 represent Roscosmos, 2 represent the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 1 represents the United Arab Emirates. Again, we are standing by for the start of the welcome ceremony. The crew will take some time to do some scene and voice checks and make sure that their microphones are set up properly, as well as that we have them all in frame before going into their welcome remarks. And of course, afterward, we will wrap our coverage before they step into their work and life aboard the International Space Station for the next 8 days.
Station Houston on 2 for Frank and PAO.
Hello, with you on 2.
Hey, Frank, just wanted to tag up with you on the PAO event. We're thinking about doing a scene and voice in about 7 minutes from now. Will that work for you?
That'll be perfect. We will call you back in about, and we can even do 5 minutes if you guys want, but we'll call you back in 7 minutes.
Copy that. We prefer closer to 7 minutes as we have a handover in about 5 minutes from now.
Sounds great.
As you heard the Capcom relay to NASA astronaut Frank Rubio, we are expecting a handover. We're expecting that short handover in just a few minutes. We want to make sure that we have great audio and video from our visiting astronauts. So we are holding for that short handover, and then we will start the welcome ceremony. Again, crew arrived this morning at 8:12 a.m. Central Time, the Dragon Hatch opening at 10 a.m. Central Time, and then crew members floating aboard just moments ago. AlQarni, it looks like he already has the hang of things on his first flight to space. The Axiom crew has trained for months in preparation for this mission. The Axiom crew has been training for months in preparation for this mission here at Johnson Space Center as well as at SpaceX, working with teams on the research that they will be conducting as well as learning space station systems. Three countries represented here. We've got Tan Al Nayati of UAE, two Roscosmos cosmonauts, as well as our two new astronauts representing the Saudi Space Commission on their 8-day stay on the International Space Station. Just above Barnawi and AlQarni's heads, you can see the two EMUs, extravehicular mobility units, used by USOS astronauts on spacewalks. Those have been moved from the airlock to allow a little more space for the Axiom crew during this flight. Of course, we do have 11 crew members on board now, so we have to make some room for sleep spaces. And again, we are standing by anticipating a satellite handover here momentarily. Once we've regained communications, we'll go through some voice checks with the astronauts. And there it is, as expected. That handover from our satellites. We'll do those scene and voice checks when we come back to make sure that we have a picture-perfect view of the crew members before they give us some welcome remarks. This view from International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, Texas. Teams continue to monitor the arrival of our 4 new visitors, as well as all of the systems aboard the International Space Station and the astronauts and cosmonauts that live there. Just over 2 hours now since the AX2 crew arrived to the Zenith or space-facing port on the Harmony module, also known as Node 2, that docking coming at 8:12 a.m. Central Time, hatch opening about 26 minutes ago, 10 a.m. Central Time. So we should regain that video and audio communication with the space station momentarily.
And Houston Station on 2 for scene and voice check.
Hey, Frank, we are ready for scene and voice whenever you guys are ready. And as a reminder, you'll be on the handheld mic for today's event.
Okay, sounds good. And let us know if that scene works for you, and then I can do the countdown whenever you're ready.
Frank, if you wouldn't mind, if you could gather everybody into their spots, we'll take a look at the scene once everyone's in place.
Crew members begin to move into their locations for the welcome ceremony. Obviously, we have regained communications through the tracking data and relay satellite systems.
Houston Station on 2, say again for scene and voice.
Hey, Woody, we just want to get everyone into position before we do our scene check.
All right, we copy. We'll group up.
Like I said earlier, looking at a pretty full house here aboard the International Space Station. We have the crew that will fly on Soyuz MS-23 to return home later this year, as well as the crew that arrived on Crew 6, and now the AX2 crew.
Frank, Houston on 2, good scene check. We didn't hear audio on the handheld mic. Can you check the switch position? Frank, we're checking the config on the ground. Stand by. Frank, if you wouldn't mind, give us another long count. We needed to sync things up. Thanks, Frank. We're good on scene and voice. Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. We are ready for the event.
Please begin the welcome ceremony.
Houston and SpaceX, congratulations on a beautiful launch and a beautiful docking. It is great to have new friends up here. And so on behalf of Expedition 69, it's an honor to welcome our new crewmates. I'll pass it off to the ISS commander, Sergei Prokopyev.
Welcome on board, dear friends. This is very nice to see you here. Expedition 69, so glad to have you here with us on space station, and we looked forward to your arrival here at least 1 month, and watched yesterday your amazing launch, and this is outstanding returning first stage of Falcon 9 on the launch pad. Is so grateful, and congratulations with successful launch and your docking. And as for me, this is a very great honor to work next with Peggy Whitson, so most experienced and decorated astronaut in U.S. Astronaut Corps. And congratulations, new astronauts, Rayyanah, John, Ali, and my congratulations, all of us. We have now 11 person on the space station, and my big congratulations of Saudi Space Commission, and I'm sure you will have a great achievement in the future in your space exploration. Thank you so much, and welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, Sergey. I'll make sure, yeah, you left it on. Thank you so much. We really are excited to be here. It was a great launch, a great ride. We had a lot of fun on the way up. And we're really excited to get a lot of work done up here. But it's great for me to come back personally. It does feel like home. You might need some help, though, for a while. I could help you with some of these things. But it's a lot of fun to be here and to see this place again. It means so much to me, and I think it actually brings people together just by being here. So I wanted you to meet my crew. So I want each of them to talk a little bit about their objectives and why they're here, and maybe a little bit about the ride. It's
on. Hi, I'm John Shoffner. You know, part of the AX2 crew. It's an honor to be here and make new friends in space. First time I've done that for sure. So I've been dreaming or working toward this since I was 8 in a young astronauts club, you know, watching Gemini pilots do their thing. So we had cardboard boxes pretending to be Gemini pilots. So you'd think having that much time to prepare, I'd have some better words than this. But, you know, it's having a chance to be here and fly with this amazing new crew, Ali and Ray, and of course with Peggy Whitson, the awesome Peggy Whitson. And to join Expedition 69 is a fabulous thing for me, for anyone to be able to do. I'm honored. I'd like to thank NASA for creating the opportunity and opening the doors for private and commercial space exploration, and also the ingenuity of SpaceX and Axiom and to develop the next level of space platforms and space access for everyone. I want to say thanks to my lovely wife for those magic words. One day she looked on the news and said, "Look, you can finally go to space." She was right. Thank you for that, Janine. Otherwise, we look forward to some great work for STEM education outreach and some amazing science that we have going on up here, and I hope you guys will follow us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. This is AlQarni. If you just allow me to start speaking in Arabic first. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وشكرا. هذه الكلمتين هي اللي تصف شعوري هذه اللحظة. الحمد لله بتيسيره وفضله وصلنا إلى محطة الفضاء الدولية. شكرا لحكامنا بقيادتهم وحكمتهم ونظرتهم في المستقبل وتطور البشرية. شكرا لاهتمامهم بمجال الفضاء. شكرا لأسرتي على الدعم اللامحدود اللي حظيت منهم. شكرا لزوجتي وأهلي جميعا. شكرا لهيئة السعودية للفضاء بتحقيق هذا الحلم للناس، وقريبا إن شاء الله سينضمون لنا الكثير بإذن الله. شكرا لناسا، شكرا أكسيوم سبيس إكس على هذه الفرصة. كانت تجربة الإقلاع تجربة تاريخية، تجربة سوف تخلد في ذاكرتي إلى الأبد وذاكرة اللي معي. صراحة كان طاقم رحلة مميز جدا، وإحنا هنا الآن من أجل القيام بالتجارب العلمية اللي فيها نفع إن شاء الله البشرية، ونعود بنتائج جميلة إن شاء الله. Thank you everybody for the great welcome. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here and meet all of you, as John said, making space friends. So I'm really excited to work alongside with you, all of you, and eager to just share your expertise with me and learn from you. Thank you. Thank you to our King and his Crown Prince for their support and trust in us. Thank you to the Saudi people, because this mission is not just for me and Rayyanah. This mission is all Saudi people with ambition and dreams, and also you can dream big, because in our country, with the support we have, you will be
أسرنا بدعم الجميع. هذه الرحلة ما تمثلني أنا لوحدي ولا تمثل بس طموحي، بالعكس هي تمثل كل الوطن العربي، تمثل كل السعوديين. الحمد لله أن احنا جاتنا هذه الفرصة، أن احنا فقط نقدر نوصل الآن لمحطة الفضاء الدولية، لكن بعد كده عندنا أكيد طموحات أكبر وأكبر، منها القمر، منها المريخ. لازم نستكشف الفضاء، هذه هي فرصتنا. زي ما تشوفوا دحين جنسيات كثيرة متجمعة في مكان واحد، فالفضاء هو اللي يجمع كل هذه الجنسيات المختلفة بأفكارهم واستكشافاتهم معلوماتهم. فالحمد لله ان احنا وصلنا هذه المرحلة مع هذا الفريق الجميل. وصلنا الحمد لله بعد تدريب تقريبا 10 شهور. فهذا التدريب قابلنا رواد فضاء سابقين، قابلنا بيجي ويتسون، قابلنا مدربين دربوا رواد آخرين في ناسا وفي جاكسا وفي إيسا. وفي نفس الوقت التدريب اللي جهزوه أكسيوم واللي جهزوه سبيس إكس، شعور انطلاق الصاروخ صراحة أنا دموعي ما قدرت توقف، لأني حسيت إنه أخذتكم كلكم معايا هنا. فالحمد لله على التمام والكمال. الحمد لله على وجود قائدنا ذو الرؤية الطموحة سمو سيدي الأمير محمد بن سلمان. الحمد لله على وجوده، والحمد لله على أنه قدرنا نحقق هذا الحلم، وهذه أول خطوة، ونستنى بعد كده بإذن الله أشخاص كتير يكونوا موجودين هنا من العالم العربي أجمع. So greetings from outer space. I'm here not only representing myself, but representing the hopes and dreams of everyone back home, everyone in the region. We are here gathering with different cultures and this international collaboration. This shows how space brings everyone together. It brings even different backgrounds. Some of us are doctors, some of us are researchers, engineers, and so on. I'm very happy to be here representing the dreams and hopes of everyone back home, and at the same time I'm very glad that I've received extensive training from trainers who have trained previous astronauts like NASA, JAXA, ESA, and SpaceX and Axiom. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you all for listening. Thank you for letting me share my feelings, and I'm going to live this experience to the max.
Great. Well, we all are excited for all of the new astronauts here, and we have something special. Ray, would you hold this while I pin John?
Oh, wow.
Give him his official astronaut pin. John is the 598th astronaut.
Wow. I don't think I'm ready for clapping yet.
Ollie, I can get it up.
Mic is off.
So Ollie is the 599th astronaut.
Thank you.
And our little Ray is 600. I'm going to stick myself more than anything. Okay, here we go. All right. So thanks to inviting all of us up here and welcoming 3 new astronauts.
Okay, and that concludes the ceremony. Thank you guys so much. Again, it really feels like the International Space Station up here. This is going to be an awesome week. We're all excited and super happy to have you guys up here.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
Copies.
And with completion of the welcome ceremony, another big welcome to the Axiom 2 crew, our second private astronaut mission crew to arrive at the International Space Station. We now have 11 people living and working on the International Space Station. Again, we're looking for those AX2 crew members to live and work on the orbiting lab for the next 8 days. We saw docking this morning at 8:12 a.m. Central Time, 9:12 a.m. Eastern, and hatch opening from Dragon to the International Space Station at 10 Central, 11 Eastern. All of this following launch yesterday at 5:37 p.m. Eastern from Florida. It was a smooth ride uphill, approximately 16 hours ahead of that docking today. And again, now we are expecting these crew members to live and work on the space station for about 8 days before beginning their journey home to Earth. So for future updates on NASA missions, as well as what you can expect from the AX2 crew on their return coverage, you can keep an eye on nasa.gov. But with that, that'll wrap us up here in Mission Control Houston, and I'm going to send it back to my friends at SpaceX.
Thank you so much, Leah. Excellent coverage from Johnson Space Center, really following along with all the integrated operations that ultimately led us to what a touching welcoming ceremony. Now, with that, we are going to wrap up our live joint coverage of Peggy, John, Ali, and Rayyanah's arrival to the International Space Station. It's been an honor to support the AX2 mission thus far. We wish the Axiom crew a successful time on station, and we look forward to joining you when it's time to bring them back home.
Absolutely. And Kate, I just want to say from launch to docking, it has been an absolute pleasure sharing this desk with you. So thank you, spasiba, and shukran. Over the course of our cruise time on station, we will be providing daily mission updates from Axiom Mission Control to highlight the range of science research and STEAM education events the crew will be conducting over the course of their 8 days on station. Be sure to visit axiomspace.com and follow the Axiom social media channels for real-time updates.
And with that, on behalf of SpaceX, Axiom Space, and NASA, thank you all for tuning in to watch. See you soon.